Picture this. You're born into a world of pure brilliance, destined to inherit a massive fortune. Now imagine losing every single bit of it. This is the incredible story of Jumoke Age, and it's about what happens when a family's legacy becomes a brutal battleground, leaving a young heiress with absolutely nothing.
And that's really the central question here, isn't it? On one hand, you have the promise of staggering wealth, a life carefully built by two of the brightest minds in engineering. And on the other, you have the shocking reality of that same girl, forced to survive on the chaotic streets of Lagos. So we've got to ask, how on earth did it all go so wrong?
I mean, the contrast is just jarring. Jimmy's world was supposed to be Ikoi mansions, marble floors, chandeliers. But instead, she was thrown into the gridlock of Yaba, hawking snacks, surrounded by exhaust fumes and shouting bus drivers. It's a total 180-degree flip, a brutal reversal of fortune. Okay, so to really get how this all went down, we need to rewind. We have to look at the incredible legacy her parents, Badinli Ajay and Taiwo Ajala, built from the ground up, because their story, well, that's the foundation for everything that comes next.
Their whole story starts with this amazing mix of competition and just pure genius. In college, they were these fierce academic rivals. He built a machine to clear waterways, she built one to help farmers. That rivalry kind of morphed into respect when they ended up working together at an oil firm, which then, blossomed into love during a super tough project on an oil rig. They became this engineering power couple, and when their daughter Jumai was born, she was their entire world.
But this perfect world they'd built so carefully, it was all about to come crashing down. And not just once, it was shattered twice by unimaginable tragedies that left their young daughter completely and utterly vulnerable.
The first hit came out of nowhere, and it was absolutely devastating. Jummy's dad, Badinli, was a global consultant, always flying to the world's most dangerous oil fields to solve huge problems. He was on a routine commercial flight to Port Harcourt, and the plane went down. He didn't survive.
So after Badinli died, his wife T, she became this absolute force of nature. She rose through the ranks to become Oil Woman of the Year, all while protecting her daughter like a lioness. But then, years later, she's just finished a totally normal meeting and she collapses. A massive stroke took her life in the hospital. And just like that, Jummy was completely alone, an orphan.
So, with both parents gone, you can probably guess what happened next. The fight for Jummy's future kicked off immediately. And it turned into this really bitter struggle, basically pitting old-school family tradition against modern airtight law.
So on her dad's side, you have her uncle, Chief Teju Ajayi. And his whole argument was rooted in this traditional belief. He basically argued that customary law meant the family line, the brothers, had first claim to his brother's estate. From his perspective, the property and even the child belonged to the family.
But Jummy's mom, T? Oh, she had a totally different plan. She was smart, a real strategist, and she made this promise to her daughter, and she meant every word of it. She wasn't about to leave her daughter's future up to chance or some old tradition. No way. She locked it down, legally.
And this is where it all blows up. So they're in this super tense family meeting right after T's death, and her lawyer just drops a bombshell. A legally binding document. T had officially, legally, appointed her own twin sister, Kenny, as Jummy's guardian. This was a direct challenge to Chief Teju's claim, and, well, it kicked off a family war.
So even with this legal document, Jummy somehow ends up living with her dad's family, and what happened next was just a nightmare. But it led to this incredible rescue and a revelation that honestly changes the entire story. Her life there was a living nightmare. I mean, think about it. The girl who grew up in an Ikoyi mansion was basically turned into a servant, waking up before dawn to fetch water, working all day in a market stall, and just dealing with constant verbal abuse. They took her phone, her things, and the worst part, they sent her out to sell snacks in the middle of that dangerous Lagos traffic, a world away from anything she'd ever known.
But then, help came from a place you'd never expect. The family's old driver, a loyal man named Mr. Latif, he's in traffic and he sees her. He's absolutely horrified, right, to see his old boss's little girl like this. So he makes one desperate phone call to the only person he thinks can help, her mother's lawyer.
And that call led to the lawyer revealing a secret that changed absolutely everything. See, everyone thought Badinli's life insurance was for $2 million, kind of standard. But her dad, this man who worked in the most dangerous spots on the planet, he had planned for the absolute worst. The real number wasn't $2 million. It was $50 million. $50 million.
Now, this bombshell, it wasn't just about the money. It was about power. Suddenly, with the muscle of a $50 million trust behind them, Jumi's mom's family and the lawyer had all the leverage they needed to act fast and get her out of there.
And they didn't waste a second. The plan rolled out perfectly. Step 1, get Jumi off the streets. They whisked her away to a safe house with her best friend's family. Step 2, the lawyer, now backed by all that cash, fires off a legal demand for the immediate return of all of her property. And step 3, a whole new plan. Get Jumi and her friends for support out of the country and to America so she could continue her education safely.
You know, after everything she'd been through, her mindset was just incredible. The visa officer asks her, "Why do you want to go to the US?" And she doesn't talk about escaping. She doesn't talk about the money. She just says her goal is to heal, to learn, and to one day come back and build a legacy of her own, just like her parents did.
So what's the big takeaway from this wild story? Well, for one, it shows you that a huge legacy can bring out some serious greed. It also proves that all that boring legal planning, it's not just about money. It's maybe the biggest act of protection a parent can give. And maybe most importantly, it just goes to show you the kind of incredible strength a person can find when they're pushed to the absolute limit.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. I mean, for her mother, T, protecting that legacy cost her foresight and legal battles. For her daughter, Jumi, it cost her her entire childhood, but it forged this incredible strength in her. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When a legacy is on the line, what's the real price of making sure it survives?